right. We should be live.
Hey.
Hello. Okay, let's wait 2 more minutes. I'll take a look at the statistics. Okay. All right. Hello everyone. If you are watching us, please let us know in the comment, so we'll know that we are not talking to just ourselves. That would be awesome. Tonight, with me there is Michał, Mike Wojtyna, and he's inventor. He's a guy that I heard from about the domain experiments, which felt like a tool that was missing in my toolbox. So I'm really happy that Michał agreed to spend this evening with us and share the details, and he will share with us how this actually is done step by step. And as a reminder, we already recorded one video where we talked about domain experiments, but that was rather on the theoretical level. And today we are diving deep into the implementation. Right?
Right. Yeah. So likewise, I'm also very happy you agreed to host today's session. So I hope that would be great. So yeah, without any further ado, I guess we can start, right?
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, so I'll share the screen in just a second. Okay. Can you see the mirror?
Not yet. 1 second. All right. Now, sorry. Yes. Now we can see the mirror and we can see both of us.
Okay, awesome. So maybe let's start with some short recap on what really domain experiments is about. Then we will go to the vision of the product we are going to model today. And afterwards, we're going to switch to some piece of a process, of a fundraising process of our domain. And we will chop it into examples. We will apply example mapping. And on top of example mapping, we will apply code storming. Regarding the formula, Lukasz is the domain expert, a visionary of our platform called Crowdfunding, with a full knowledge what we are building, why we are building, for whom. And I would be an engineer / architect, however you call it, that will try to understand the vision and model it correctly and ask better questions to actually find the right boundaries of a model. So that's how we are going to proceed. Although during the code storming session, when we would be switching to the code, Lukasz would be also switching heads and would act as another engineer, helping me to craft some pieces of code. And then we would switch back to the mirror board to do another session of example mapping, switching back role to the domain expert after having probably a lot of questions after going through the code. Okay, so that's the framework how we are going to proceed. Okay, so maybe a very short recap on domain experiments. So basically, the idea of domain experiments is to combine example mapping, test-driven development, and EventStorming into a single loop, into a single session. So it goes like this. You start with some kind of a knowledge crunching. Knowledge crunching can be anything, like EventStorming, starting maybe with some product vision board, maybe user story mapping, value mapping, or just talking with anyone. Yeah, it's just a way to actually have some vision, understand where we are, what we are building, and so on. So after this very initial version of the knowledge crunching, the next step is to go with example mapping. And the reason why we go with example mapping is that it's much easier to actually understand business processes on a concrete examples. That's actually the simplest and most effective way of exchanging knowledge, of conveying knowledge and vision. So that's why after having this example mapping, what we do next is we try to do the mob programming session. Why? Because after having examples, written on stickies, for instance, on Miro, actually this can be quite ambiguous. So now it's a moment where we want to dig a deeper into details and understand some edge cases that would be evident during the mob programming session. At the same time, during the mob programming, you are not just writing code alone, right? You are doing it collaboratively with other engineers. So that's the whole point of it. The whole point of mob programming is actually first to do the code storming in the discovery mode, so we can have some doubts, questions regarding what we are building, why we are building this. And after having enough questions, we can go back to the knowledge crunching. Or if we feel we understand what we are building, why we are building, and so on, we can go to another phase of mob programming, of code storming here, called the design phase. And during the design phase, your goal is not just to ask more questions, but actually to prepare some initial version probably of the model, like maybe find some right boundaries. Although it happens that even during this stage, we still can have some doubts and questions, and we can go back to the knowledge crunching session. So it's not any kind of a waterfall approach. There is no sequence of steps. You can think more of it as about a whirlpool, where you keep switching between example mapping, between the Miro, and between the code storming, practically on a daily basis. So that you repeat it so long until you find the right conceptual contours. What are the right conceptual contours? Well, when you feel that model is aligned with business goals. So after we think, okay, that's good enough, we can save it using, for instance, something I sometimes call model decision record, as similar to architecture decision record, but it's just a decision regarding some model boundaries. And after we decided it's good enough, we can try to choose the right solution architecture, right team topologies, right technologies to support these topologies, and so on and so forth, based on the model and questions we gathered so far. Okay, cool. So maybe during this session, let's start first with the vision. Intentionally, there is not any document here inside it. We have just a very rough vision of what we are building. The product would be called the Crowd Sorcery, and would be a platform to help investors invest using some passive investment strategies. But it's up to Łukasz now to actually help me discover the vision. So Łukasz, can you tell me what's your motivation? Why you are building this? What kind of issues, problems, needs you have found so far? What we are building? Can you try to elaborate a bit?
Yeah, so basically, to be completely honest, I have a lot of rich friends that don't know what to do with the money, so I just want to help every one of us. And we don't have time to learn how to invest actively, right? It takes a lot of time. We need to follow all the trends and so on. Nobody wants to do that. We have our professions, and that's where we are really into, right? That's investing is not really interesting for us, but we like profit. So I thought that since I know some developers like you, Michał, I could ask you to just build some automatic investment strategies, which would allow us to just get some money. But I also thought that, there's a lot of interesting projects, and I'm really excited about all them. I really like what Kickstarter is doing, but I think that it doesn't really feel that it would help me to gain the money. So I thought that I need something to create something on my own. And I really want to make sure that we verify the projects once we, before we start getting money from people and passing them to the projects, right? Because the platform, it needs to be trusted. And yeah, that's basically my idea.
Okay, so the very initial version is here to create some tool to help investors with enough money, but not enough time to actually invest actively into like just allocate the money and set some strategies, as you mentioned, right? And choose what you want to invest in based on some automatic rules. Is that right?
Yes, that sounds exactly what I have in mind.
Okay, awesome. So maybe after having some initial vision of what we're building, maybe let's try to specify needs. Maybe let's start with just a single node, a single sticky for each column here, so we can see. I mean, our guests, so we can see how it goes, and then maybe we will just copy it from the existing canvas. So regarding the needs, which problems does this product solve? What benefit does it provide? If you could just mention one here.
Yeah, so active investments requires a lot of time.
Okay, yeah. Active investments requires a lot of time, and our investors usually would prefer probably to earn more money than just search for some opportunities, right? So that would be the first need we identified here. If we understand the needs, we probably can specify at least one target group. So
Yeah, as
what
I
kind of,
mentioned,
yep, yes?
I have a lot of rich friends that want to invest, and they're lawyers, doctors, software engineers. So,
Okay.
that's
Maybe
my target group.
maybe software engineers is just a bit of a past, I guess, right now. But yeah, let's stick to the lawyers and doctors now. Okay, so that would be probably some of our customers here. Okay, and now instead of going to the product, maybe let's try to identify at least one business goal we want to achieve, and it would be best if it would be measurable. So can you give me one good measurable goal?
I thought that I would like to have many successful investments.
Okay, but many successful investments is actually not specific enough. It's a bit too generic, I guess. Can we use some numbers?
Yeah, so I thought like 100, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
so
100 would be reasonable to build the platform.
okay, during first 3, 6, 12 months?
To be honest, I have money for 6 months. So
okay, awesome. During first 6 months. So let's say this. Okay, so that would be one of our business goals. And after we understand the business goals, we can now finally try to identify what type of product we are going to build. So what would it be? I don't know. Would you like to do it manually? Just contact your investors, or maybe you need something specific? What would it be to solve?
Yes, so I thought that I would like to have something where I don't have to spend much time to do the investing. So maybe like automatic investing strategies, investment strategies.
Okay. So that would be a platform supporting automated investments. I guess it doesn't need to be perfect. I guess the initial versions can be a bit simplified, but that would be probably our unique value proposition, right? So in our platform, you just don't need to pick manually all the opportunities coming in, all the investment opportunities. You can just say, okay, according to some rules, I want to invest in this, and this. That would be our unique value proposition, right?
Yeah, you could do that, but also my dream is to have only the projects that seem valid, that are checked, that with proper due diligence. So if somebody goes to the platform and they decide that this looks interesting to me, it should be safe bet.
Okay, awesome. So two unique value propositions here: automated investments and project verification. So investors can feel safe when investing into different projects.
Oh, yeah, that's important for me.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so previously we have also prepared details. So maybe we will just skim through the pre-filled canvas, so our guests can can see the full view. So it would be like this: active investment requires a lot of time. We want to allow investors to invest passively using automated investment strategies. Yeah, that's aligned. The needs would be: active investment requires a lot of time. Investors don't know what they should invest into. No credible platform or broker to support in this. We want to also have clear return of investments terms, and it's hard to fund new projects from the perspective of the borrowers. The target group would be similar to what we've mentioned previously: doctors, software engineers, maybe lawyers, owners of historic buildings, real estate developers, but also amateurs, investment amateurs with money. That would be a bit of generalization. If we would be a bit more specific, it's usually good to have at least few goals, not just a single one, I guess. So that would be at least 100 successful investments. That's something we already mentioned, but also at least 1,000 verified borrowers during the first months, and a fee for a platform exceeding 2% of margin. So that's how we would earn money on this. And our product would be a product supporting automatic investment strategies, platform supporting automatic investment strategies with clear return on investments, no hidden costs, with verified projects, and also platform which manages the fundraising know-how. It's not actually feasible and quite easy to start the fundraising on our own. Usually it's good to have some support, and that's what our platform would actually provide. So that's the vision. That's the vision of what we are building. And after we understood the vision, what we can do next, we can start this first phase of domain experiments, which would be some kind of a knowledge crunching. We already have some very, very generic vision, and now it would be better to actually understand some critical processes which are happening in our system. So the next step would be most probably to start with some process level or big picture level session of the EventStorming. That's how I usually proceed. But to save the time of our guests, I guess we can start with a pre-filled process here. And instead of creating it from scratch, we will just chop it into examples. Okay, so the first process on which we focus here would be the fundraising process. Fundraising is a bit generic. It's of everything that needs to happen for the borrower to actually be able to start the fundraising for their projects. And after fundraising is being started, investors can start investing in the project, and the borrowers would receive funds. And after receiving enough funds, the project can be finally funded. So basically, it's probably is at the intersections of different bounded contexts here, but that's fine. Processes usually work like this. Okay, so maybe let's go with some initial things which are happening here. The first event which happened is KYC procedure is initiated. KYC procedure, because, well, we need some way to actually be able to verify, for instance, the borrower. Probably that will be from the... Yes?
Just to make it clear, KYC is know your customer, right?
Yes,
so you just,
yes.
Get the data that you need to learn about the customer.
Yes. When you're dealing with money, usually you need some form of know your client procedures. Okay. So after this initial verification, the proposal draft can be prepared. Proposal draft is initial version of what we, from the perspective of the borrowers, want to fund. How much do we? What's our funding goal? How much do we want to collect, and what's the schedule of interests being paid. So after proposal draft is prepared, proposal can be accepted. After proposal can be accepted, there is also the concept of verification of this project. That's like the initial preparation of it. Then the project can be finally verified, and after project is finally verified, the project fundraising can be started. After project fundraising is started, there are some investments made into this project, funds are being received from the borrower's perspective, and ultimately the project is funded. There is a bit more here, but let's just focus on this part for now. Okay, so maybe let's think a bit about that, because that's kind of a bit generic to me. So, Łukasz, can we have some good examples of this part? Do you have any specifics you can share?
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I think about the customers that I want in this platform, obviously investment is only for adults, right? So we should verify the age of the customer, right?
Okay. Okay, customer. You mean customer or a borrower?
I mean well, actually both, right? The borrower,
Okay.
but also the lender.
Okay. So both guys. So that would be the first case where the borrower is younger than, let's say, 18 years old. The same for the investor.
Since I'm not really into IT, what are we doing right now?
Okay, so at this moment, what we want to have is to show specifics of your processes, what really happens here, just how you would like to explain some complex process to a child, right?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly this. So you take one example. For instance, you mentioned you don't want to have you mentioned you want to allow only adults to actually start the fundraising, right? So when we are looking at this case, the borrower is, for instance, younger than 18 years old. What could actually happen here? What we can do now, I would like to have a sequence of steps, of facts that are happening, explaining this specific scenario. So maybe let me help you with the first one. That would be something like borrower registered, but the borrower with, I don't know, maybe 17 years old. So imagine there is some borrower which is registered on our platform, and what happens next in this scenario, in this example?
Well, if they make a proposal, if they prepare a draft, they can do that, of course.
Okay,
but
so that would be something like proposal prepared.
Yeah, but it will be rejected because we don't allow that kind of customers.
Okay, so that would result in the proposal being rejected. Rejected because we don't want the borrowers to be non-adults to actually be able to start the fundraising. So at this moment, that would be a rejection, right? Okay, so that was the first example here. Maybe let's not think about the investors yet, and let's try to think about other scenario. The borrower is older than 18 years old. Okay, so that would be kind of similar here, right? Something like borrower registered. Let's say that's 19 years old. Then the proposal is prepared, and the difference would be that this time the proposal would be accepted. If I understand it correctly, yeah, if it's good, right? So maybe if it's good, probably we can leave some questions here. What does it mean that proposal is good, right? There is something more. I don't want to block the discussion right now, so I'll just leave it here so we can go back later on. Okay, so we have first two examples. Can you imagine any other example where we would like to reject maybe the proposal for any other reason?
Yeah, I actually have two. So the one is that I don't really want criminals in my system.
Okay.
I mean, it has to be trustworthy from the start, right? From the backbone. So.
Right. To support this need we have here, right? That we want to have a verified projects only on our platform, right? So that's coming directly from our vision and the needs of the investors. So borrower with criminal record starts fundraising. That's another example here. And in such a case, that might look something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I'm just writing some assumptions here. Maybe borrower registered again on our platform with some criminal record set to true. Probably also needs to be adult, I guess, to support this scenario better.
Yeah.
Okay, and now the proposal is prepared, and if the borrower would be just 19 years old, we would say that the proposal would be accepted. But since we detected the criminal record for this proposal, for this borrower, we would reject it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be a difference here. So that's quite obvious, but let's make it clear. Borrower without criminal record starts fundraising, and in such a case, there would be proposal being accepted. Okay, so at this point, we started with just some piece of a process here of verification of the proposals and prepared 4 examples out of it. And now that's maybe let's go here again. So we are at this step, at the example mapping step, and it seems everything is clear so far. Stickies can accept everything. And now instead of actually going with next examples, more elaborate scenarios, and so on and so forth, we would switch to the code and try to prepare some maybe initial models to have some vision of what we are building, maybe find some inconsistencies, some questions, and maybe finally prepare some initial models. So now we are getting into the mob programming part, and we will start with the code storming in the discovery phase. Okay, so what I would do now, I would switch here to the IDE, and now Łukasz would change his head. He's no longer a domain expert right now. He's just my friend.
Now I'm vibe coder.
Yes, you're right. Something like that. I would be more active this time, and Lukasz would try maybe to challenge something what happens, maybe point out some inconsistencies, and so on and so forth. Okay, I'm using Java, by the way, so sorry for this, but it's not really important here. Okay, so what I usually start with, I start with some very simple test. I can even copy this mirror board here and say examples from. Okay, and I know that this display name annotations means okay, it's just a name that would be presented during the reporting of running a test. Okay, so let's take the first example then. The first example would be that the borrower is, maybe let's start with the positive one. It's always nicer to start with something positive, I guess. Borrower is older than 18 years old. I've just copy-pasted exactly this example here. Okay, so that would be adults test. Cool. Okay. In such a case, the proposal should be accepted. So maybe let's try to create it. Okay, we don't have such a thing as proposal accepted yet. What I would do now, I would create such an event. Okay, proposal is accepted. That would be the event produced by some system. I don't know what's the name of the system, so maybe I'll just call it some system. I don't care what exactly this is yet at this point. So some system would need to accept some kind of a command. we are starting with something very, very generic at this point. Okay, so if some system can accept some comments, that can mean something like, I don't know, verify proposal, for instance, right? Okay, so here we don't have such a method as verify proposal. Okay, so we just return. We just created. Okay, awesome. And now just some stuff to initiate it. Okay, that's not really important. Okay, awesome. So this some system would result into producing an event called the proposal accepted. So it should be expressed when invoking this verify proposal. And let's start with something extremely simple here. And let's just say that this event is not, it's a bit too technical at this stage, but maybe let's start with something which is at least executable. Okay, so I'll just run it to see how it goes. For the first time, it would take a bit longer. Okay, cool. So now, since we have a very simple case of just proposal being accepted after verification of the proposal happens here, I can just return it because we don't have any other rule. Okay, cool. So extremely simple, right? But
so we just created plain
yes.
old Java objects, and we are basically trying to model what us in the examples.
Yeah, even not exactly modeling yet. We are just translating like stickies, right? We don't know the boundaries yet. We are not thinking about the boundaries of some, I don't know, bounded context or aggregates or anything like this. We are not thinking in these areas yet. We just try to translate it into the code to maybe find some inconsistencies, questions, and so on. So in this first example, when the borrower is older than 18 years old, it seems everything should be fine. So maybe let's start with the second one. The borrower is younger than 18 years old. Okay. Okay, something like that. Younger than 18. Okay, cool. So in such a case, according to this scenario, it should be almost the same, but this time we should reject it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now proposal accepted, and we see that yeah, we started with something quite simple. Yeah, that verify proposal always returns proposal accepted. Well, probably that's not true, right? Because that's the verification. So we could return, I don't know, some proposal verification result, or we can just say that it produced some domain events. It depends on the flavor. I am not trying to be too focused on this yet. So instead, maybe let's say there is such a concept of, I don't know, maybe domain events, because the can be maybe more than one event. I don't know what exactly types of events are created here. So at this stage, I would just create domain events, okay, and would change the verify proposal here to return the domain events here. Okay, and we would go back to the previous one in a moment. Let's not switch the context. So that would be the events here. And now we can say that these events actually contain the rejection. So maybe a bit more natural would look something like, I don't know, events contains at least one event of type, for instance. And here, let's add such a method. Okay, let's say a proposal rejected this time. That would be this case. Okay, so let's create it. Awesome. It can be a record. That's not really important here. Okay, and of this specific type. Okay, so add the method here. Okay, cool. Cool. assertions. Let's just express that it's true. Assert that event is true and contains at least one, needs to return a boolean. Maybe let's start with something trivial. Okay, something like that. Okay, yeah, and this is actually the first branch here. Let's switch back here to the previous example. Okay, so verify. Now we want to express that events contains at least one event of type proposal accepted this time. Just maybe switch it to any type of type here. Okay, cool. Arc assertions, assert that is true. I won't be digging very much into the implementation details because first I want it to be applicable to any language, and I don't want to waste the time of our guests of all the implementation details. I want to show how the flow would look like, and just go with very, very simple things. So in such a case, as you can see, we have the first flow. So in such a case, we can't just return proposal accepted, right? We would.
Yeah, that would be incorrect.
Yes, that would be incorrect.
So this is sorry. So
Yeah.
so after you written those tests, now it's the time to actually make them green and also comply with example mapping that we just.
Yes. Yes, but at this stage, it's not just about doing it, just about passing tests. It's actually about thinking in some edge cases, right? So we can already see the first problem here, I guess, because if we just returned again the same thing, okay, let's assume that's how it goes. If we just wrapped it with domain events, that we would get nothing. We actually need the first if here, right? But we mentioned about the proposal, but verify proposal doesn't accept anything yet, right? So probably we need to pass. Probably we must, not probably, right? We need some concept of a proposal. So okay, let's create one. Okay, that would be something I just called the proposal. Let's make it just a record. Okay, so just some data for now. Okay, so that would be the proposal, and let's change the method to accept this this argument. Okay, and now we have access to the proposal, right? So now we are able to express the first rule. So probably something like if maybe let's write it with some pseudocode, like proposal contains borrower older than 18, something like that. And let's just create such a fake method here. Okay, and in such a case,
just one mistake, then it would be accepted, right?
Yes, exactly. That exactly, and here that would be rejected. Okay, just allow it to pass any types of events here, any domain event. Okay, and that's actually the moment where probably we can also say that all of these records are actually a type of some domain event. So let me just create it here. Okay, cool. For now, it's just a marker interface. Nothing really special about it. Okay, and let it just implement the domain event. Okay, cool. So yeah, just needs to go back here to the borrower older than 18 years old and prepare. Naturally, at this stage, we must somehow be able to pass the arguments to the proposal about who's the borrower and so on and so forth. But for now, let's imagine that it would be very simple. So maybe, I don't know, older than 18. So that would be adult borrower. There would be more in the proposal, but let's start with something like this. Okay, we don't have the concept of the borrower yet, so I'll create it here. Cool. Okay. Adult borrower, and now I'll change the proposal to contain the borrower. Here, non-adult borrower. Okay. Yeah. So got some initial ideas about it. And based on the borrower, now we can verify. Let's imagine that this proposal contains borrower older than 18, actually has some if checking this borrower inside the proposal. As I mentioned, it's not really important during this webinar. So let's just imagine there is the first if here, checking this condition.
Mm-hmm.
And just by looking at this, do we see something like maybe we have some questions? Łukasz, what do you think? What are your impressions about what we have written so far?
Actually, I would ask that guy that is paying us what to do when somebody is exactly 18 years old.
Okay, that might be the first thing. So we can leave it in what happens when the guy is exactly 18 years old. That would be a short one. We don't need to go with full knowledge crunching again.
Yeah.
So maybe switch hat now and try to answer me this question.
They're accepted. I approve.
Okay, okay. So that was kind of like obvious, right? So sometimes we have some fake impressions which are kind of obvious, and we don't need to really like deal with it. So that's quite simple. We could try this edge case here, and it would be nice. But at this stage, if something is obvious, I don't feel a need actually to go very, very, very literally. So.
Don't dare setting a meeting for that. This could be an email.
This could be an email. This is probably Slack message or anything like this. Yeah. Okay. So maybe if we don't see any problems yet with these initial assumptions here, maybe if we don't have some more questions, maybe let's go with another example and see how it goes. So I'm switching back again to the example mapping session here. And we covered two cases. The borrower is older than 18 years old, and the one where borrower is younger than 18 years old. Okay, and that's already being covered. What we have not covered yet is about this criminal record. When someone with criminal record actually wants to start fundraising. So maybe let's start with it. Okay, and I would prepare another example here. Okay, borrower of criminal record starts fundraising. Awesome. So according to our events, the proposal should be rejected after the proposal is prepared here. Okay, so maybe just copy paste it. Events contains a proposal rejected, verify proposal, and now all we have to do is to prepare some other data. Again, I'll fake it a bit. So adult borrower with criminal records. Okay, cool. And let's imagine we've prepared it this way. Okay, so in such a case, the proposal would be rejected. And a very simple case for the positive scenario, criminal negative, criminal positive, maybe let's name it. Borrower without criminal record starts fundraising, and here the proposal should be accepted if adult borrower without criminal records is created. Okay. Okay, and now we prepared. We basically took these examples and translated them into code. So these are just literally taken from this board without any thinking. We just started with something to kick off the language, to kick off some process, maybe to ask some questions. From my perspective, when I look at this and I see we are dealing with money and we are dealing with a lot of types of clients with some conditions and so on and so forth, I'm just asking a question whether this verification of a proposal should actually check for this. Why? Because the initial event that happened here is that the borrower is registered. Okay, but just by looking at these examples, I'm kind of starting thinking, do we want to allow such borrowers or even investors, generally our customers, in our platform?
I think that's a really great business question. But what I also think is that by looking at this code, it may be challenging to run into such question, because this looks like a really well designed object-oriented code, right?
Right.
I perceive it a little bit as a trap to, kind of, I'm not blaming the TDD, obviously, but I'm just thinking that it's really hard. So the reason I'm saying that is I would like to ask you if you have any heuristics, or what's your thought process when you look at this, and how you decide that, okay, maybe it could be different, maybe it could be slightly designed in a slightly different way, but not in a object part, but outside of the code, right? Because this code looks really good. Besides the fact that it's Java, but
yeah. If you just take a look at code, that might look okay, but what I always try to do, I try to think in terms of the responsibilities of what happens here. So now we just named it some system, but actually this some system is just a tool to verify the proposal. So maybe the first thing would be actually like a proposal verifier for now, and just change this name. Okay, why? Because when I start with trying to see responsibilities, I can keep asking myself, are these responsibilities aligned correctly with business needs? So if we are verifying the proposals, I'm internally asking the questions, okay, do we need to really verify the proposal based on the age or on the criminal records? We are dealing with money. We are a serious platform. Would we like to actually be able to have someone on our platform, right? To have such customers on our platform, so we can even try to verify the proposal? That would be my question here, and probably I would leave some kind of a to-do here. Do we want to have such customers on our platform, right? So trying to switch left a bit. Whether what's the earliest point in this entire journey where we want to verify this? And
that would be KYC, right?
Probably yes. So probably we would need to, maybe that's our assumptions as from the engineer's point of view, that this check should happen before we are actually verifying it. So my assumption as an engineer trying to understand the domain would be more something like, what do we really need to verify? Do we want to verify customers, or proposal details such as goal, interest rate, schedule, and so forth. Yeah, and these are my assumptions just by looking at and thinking more about the examples. When I start digging into the code, I start challenging my assumptions. And when I start challenging these assumptions, I try to always think, okay, that's the right moment to actually verify it, or would we like to do it somewhere else? This will be my questions. And just by taking a look at this code, what I would do next as an engineer, and what we as engineers should do, I would leave these to-dos as hotspots somewhere here. So, for instance, that's something I need to get the answer for. So, do we want to have criminals on our platform? So the obvious answer would be no, right? But maybe we are dealing with some shady business. You never know, right? Okay.
That's true. You can say yes unless.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but let's assume that no for now.
I right now I'm still in the engineer area of thinking. I'm just trying to take my doubts expressed from the tests and put them on Miro again, so I can ask them later. So again, when borrower is younger than 18 years old, do we want to allow non-adults on our platform again, right? So that would be my two important questions I would have at this stage. And now imagine we crunch it a bit more, spend some time, and we have another session with our domain experts. So going back to the Miro, we should address all of these questions we have so far. So Łukasz, imagine that you're now the domain expert again. What would be your answer on this question? Do we want to have criminals on our platform?
No, obviously not.
Obviously not. So that would be simple.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's go with the simple case without any shady stuff happening underneath, right? So no, we don't want to have such guys. Okay, and what about this? What about non-adults? Do we want to have non-adults on our platform again?
No, because we don't want to have any issues with the law. So
okay, so that would be a simple answer here. Maybe I would I could try to stick to put the stick into the hornet's nest a bit and maybe try to drill it a bit more. Like, okay, but imagine, I don't know, Lukasz, imagine you are having someone which is, I don't know, a week before being adult. Like I've been like almost 18 years old, and at the same time a very promising guy. Wouldn't you want to have such a potential borrower with some great ideas, verified, maybe some really smart guy that could eventually be converted into a full-blown borrower?
Given that the usual time to get proposal accept decision takes around 2 weeks,
okay,
I would consider such a person.
Okay, so that would be that might be another branch here, right? So for now, the answer would be no, but it actually generated yet another question. What about promising almost adults, for instance, right? Okay. I guess it would be best to start with something simple. I'm not saying that any question you have in your heads needs to be answered now. Sometimes if it's not so obvious, probably it's a good idea to start with something simple, but have at the back of your head that, okay, maybe it would change later on. So probably there might be some policy, some ruling about it, how we want to accept it. And this ruling, these policies. Yes, Łukasz, sorry.
Yeah, just one thing I want to say is that I'm just really wearing the engineer hat again. But when we think about how the code would look like with all of those rules embedded in the proposal, that's how we create the God classes, right? But if you think more about like this way in a process, like a customer journey or how they get into the system, it reduces this number of if statements and moves them somewhere else, right? That's
right.
That's a big value from this, having such discussions in your team and with the business, of course, because they make the decisions at the end of the day.
Yeah. Actually, finding right boundaries is not rocket science, unless you are working in NASA, I guess. It's all about asking simple heuristic questions. Do we need to check it here? Can we do it earlier? Do we really need to do it now? And so on and so forth. So as you can see, that just based on the simple examples, we already see that there might be something more about it, right? Which leads us to a little shift in our initial tests, in our initial model, that instead of verifying a proposal here for some ruling regarding the KYC, we have actually a separate concept of a KYC, right? So like something new, which we discovered here. So that would be like KYC passed or KYC failed. Some more examples. And we actually started thinking in terms of such things as KYC systems, which we haven't maybe thought before. And now imagine, Lukasz, that you're this domain expert again, and I am coming to you with these questions. Okay, so do you have any types of procedures regarding your customers? How do you verify them? Do you need to verify what happens when this is passed or failed? Or maybe there is no such thing as KYC. I don't know. That's just my thinking. Just some questions. How does this work in your case?
So when we verify the age by looking at the ID and we look into the criminal records, we have this API access, which is quite expensive, by the way, so we shouldn't use it too often.
Okay.
Then they are basically allowed in the system. Of course, I could come up with more examples here. I don't want to have people that are borrowers that have debts, right? That's not the place for those kind of people. So we also need to check their transactions. We also pay a lot for API to do that. But what was interesting to read, what inspired me is that when you said that, maybe there are promising people that did not match the age yet. So maybe if we find those that are close and that do declare that have a lot of potential ideas, good ideas, perhaps we should get them into separate buckets when the QAC fails. So I would like to just explore those projects, explore those ideas, because maybe there is something within it which we could adopt as a platform.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So maybe let's try to dig deeper just a bit about this KYC, because that's an interesting thing. You mentioned that different bucket, right? And when you mentioned the different bucket, is something which is kind of interesting for me, because do we have another segment of customers? Maybe that's some discovery, maybe something we haven't thought before. So if we imagined this case that KYC failed, but we want to keep promising potential customer, maybe I don't know how to name this yet, And I don't care really. I don't really care about the names at this point. Yeah, it needs to be extremely simple. So in such a case, that would be like I don't know, like for instance, the borrower tried to register using, I don't know, investment platform. I'm not sure if that's expressed correctly. Yeah, it's just some very like divergent thinking right now. Borrower tried to register using some investment platform, and if borrower was registered, rejected because of any reason, maybe because of age, then in such a case, maybe we want to do something more with it. Like, okay, it's rejected from this platform, like from the investment platform, but let's take a look at these business goals again, yeah, because at least 100 successful investments during the first 6 months, and at least 1,000 verified borrowers during first 6 months. So, like, we are not just dealing with fundraisings. We need to be aware of actually being able to build the community, and building the community might be extremely important part of our business. So this is interesting discovery, and this is something which we for our guests, this is something which we haven't scripted. Yeah, that's occurring. Yes, that's a wild guess. It's occurring naturally, but when borrower is rejected, then maybe borrower should be, I don't know, redirected.
As interesting.
Yes. Oh yeah, classified. Yeah, that's a good name. Classified as promising lead. Oh, maybe lead. Yeah, and that's really interesting, because we can start thinking more about leads. What about these leads? Yeah, do we need to have some system just managing leads, right? So
there's different ways in which we could go, because another goal that we have is to have 2% margin, right? So perhaps even if the borrower is too young, we could just adopt the project for a specific fee and just be,
maybe
they would be responsible for execution, and we would just hire them for some fee.
Maybe.
Yeah. Just we can explore ideas, but
yes. So during the webinar, probably we want to go so deep here, but that's how it would actually go. Yeah, switching go forward and back between the code and the example mapping all the time. So for now, let's imagine that I don't know, Łukasz, if you agree on this or not as a domain expert, but my idea is that we would just have some KYC system that would be able to either say whether the borrower is registered or the registration is rejected, and that's it. Can we start with it, or?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think what's more interesting for me later on is to the investments, right? Because that's what we
right. So we would go there in a moment. So without getting too much into the details, I just want to show one thing, how it might alter the examples. So another example would be something more like, I don't know, here borrower is successfully registered according to KYC. And here within a code, we would actually, during the proposal verification of the previous system, we would get rid of all of these checks and move them to the KYC part. And in the KYC, we would verify and classify our segments. So there would be probably some KYC system being created here that would be a new concept that would check just this KYC system, KYC verify registration attempt, or something like that. and so on and so forth. Yeah. So the goal now is not to go with all the details. It's just to show our guests how we could probably explore it and how we would switch the responsibilities of these systems just by looking at examples. So you mentioned, Łukasz, that this 2% margin here is interesting for you, naturally, because that's where we get money, right? So after exploring this fundraising, proposal verification, and so on, it's probably a good guess to start with this investments. So let me check at this how it goes. After project fundraising is being started, there can be multiple investments being made into a project. The funds are then received, and after enough funds are being received, the project is finally funded. Okay, so can you give me some, because I'm not I don't kind of feel at which moment do we get this? We as a platform, as crowdsourcer platform, we are earning money. I don't see the value here. Can you give me some examples how it goes?
Yeah. So, for example, when the fundraising is started, and let's say, just for the sake of simplicity, that the goal is $10,000, and when there is couple of people that start investing, so say that there is I don't know, Michael that is investing 9,000 because he feels that this is a good project. That's usually how it would go with so small projects. Yeah, let's go with 2K, and then there comes John that also gives 6K. And maybe Scott that also gets 1K, right? And then we are 1K missing, but that's not the problem because then comes, I don't know, Anna that fills the last 1K. That's a very positive scenario. And then we could say when all of this happens, then the project is actually funded.
Okay. Awesome. But where is the value here? Because Michael invested, okay, John invested, cool. Where is the value for crowdsourcer here? Where are we earning money?
Yeah, so basically, that's a good idea. I haven't really thought about this too much, but let's explore an option when we take 2% of this. Let's see how it goes and how much money the project will get. And
Okay, so after each investment, we immediately take this fee. Is that okay? Is that right? Like,
no. Actually, that wouldn't be
okay.
Good. I think that we should take this fee after the project is funded.
Okay.
So because
okay.
Yeah, because there's one more thing that you need to be aware of. So we have different types of project, but most popular is all or nothing. So if project is not funded, then we just give the money back to investors, right?
Okay. So you mentioned you have different types of projects. So maybe I'll go back to this in a moment. But for now, maybe let's go with this example, with this negative example. Okay, that we still have the goal of 10K, but the project is not funded on time, like fundraising time exceeded, deadline probably would be better name, deadline exceeded. Okay, so in such a case, the project would not be funded, and you mentioned that all the investments would be returned. Is that right?
Yeah, and then we wouldn't get any fee. That actually hurts my heart, but this is how it goes.
Okay, yeah. So again, if we think about the money, is there any chance to not lose all of it? I don't know. Yeah, because that's, for me, it looks like the lost opportunity, frankly.
Yeah.
So do you have any other, I don't know, have you thought maybe? Yeah, that's just my question, just thinking in terms of maximizing the profits. Do we want to have such types of projects on our platform? And you mentioned yes, but what's the business goal for it? Like,
Yeah. So
yeah,
but,
I don't kind of feel it yet.
which part? The part with the when we
Uh,
don't met the goal.
yes, the part where the goal is not reached. Goal is not reached, and 10K is returned. Not 10K, sorry, and investments are returned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I would like those fundraise to be succeeded, but I
Mm-hmm.
thought about also different solution.
Mm-hmm.
So if the deadline is succeeded and I
Mm-hmm.
find the project interesting, perhaps
Mm-hmm.
maybe I would like to invest into it as a platform.
Okay.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then
That's
because
interesting.
if I build, we have verified projects by experts, and once they
Mm-hmm.
are verified, there are highly chance that they will start making money, and then I will get my money back, right? Perhaps I
Okay.
would make the fee a little bit bigger than 2% for those
Mm-hmm.
cases.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. So if I understand you correctly, you would like to add something as a platform, as crowdsourcery, to actually kick off this project because you find it promising and you want to increase the number of successful projects on the platform according to our business goals. Is that right?
Yes, but also looking a long term, I would
Mm-hmm.
only do that for the projects I believe that I would get my money back with and then
Mm-hmm.
fulfill the goal of 2% margin.
Okay. Okay. So only for the promising project. Okay.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be
Uh,
automatic,
mhm.
but I would have my guy to actually make decision because that's not what I like to do.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we have enough examples here to try some coding. What do you think?
Yeah, there's just one
Mm-hmm.
more strategy because when the deadline is exceeded and fundraising isn't successful,
Mm-hmm.
there is another strategy that I really like to use sometimes is keep what you have,
Mm-hmm.
keep what you raise. Sorry, and in this strategy, if the borrower is fine with the amount of money that they get and they think that okay, maybe they can still do that within this price, we could
Mm-hmm.
just keep the money to them, but the project would have to be super secure in that case,
Okay. Okay.
just
Can you
letting
give
them getting money.
yeah, can you give a specific example for it? Maybe just post it here on board.
Yeah, so let's think about this. Never used this Miro board thing.
Not so
So
hard.
goal is not reached,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just say project is super interesting.
Okay.
And let's just drop what it means. It's super interesting. I believe it's gonna change over time, but
Mm-hmm.
when the deadline is exceeded, but project marked or just for lack of a better word, I just used marked.
Mm-hmm.
Then actually, mm, and borrower agreed to
Mm-hmm.
start underfunded.
Mm-hmm.
Then they keep what they get.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
What they got.
Yeah. So probably not even the project is considered super interesting, but like you need to be sure there is a high chance of succeeding, right? Of the investment succeeding, because you trust them somehow because of any reasons. Okay, cool. So it seems we got enough, I guess. Okay, so let's go to the code. Maybe I'll prepare another file for this, and that will be just about the fundraising examples. Okay, so fundraising examples here from this. Awesome. So the first one would be about the goal is reached. The goal is reached of 10 is reached. Yeah, let's be a bit more specific here. The goal of 10,000K is reached. Okay. So the project should be funded. Actually, that would be something like this. Events system, and that would be like, okay, invest, something like that. Fundraising system. Okay, let's create it. Okay, let's have something like this. Okay, cool. Okay, let's add it. Okay, got some domain events, and now we would like to express that contains at least one event of type project funded. Okay. Okay, cool. And here, according to our needs, actually wouldn't be just a single investment. That would be multiple investments happening here. 1, 2, 3, 4 investments. Okay, each time it might return some sequence of events, and maybe let's call it like events after first investment, and so on, events after second investment, after third one, and fourth one. So like a sequence of streams of events happening here, invest, events. Now investments like, let's call it, I don't know, investment probably would be a good name, I guess. Okay. Okay. Of investments of 2K. Let's say that we are not using any currency yet. Yeah, would be would use some money class naturally or something like that. So that would be the first investment. We actually named it like that's Michael's investment. Michael's investment. Okay. Invest. So let's add the investment method here. Okay, cool. It's added here, but not each time. The Michael investments. That's Michael investment. John investment.
6K. Scott 1K.
Yes, 6K. John's investment. That's 6K. Scott. That's 1K. Scott investment. And the last one is Anna investment, right? Okay. Okay, so that's John's, Scott, and Anna. Okay, cool. So now, from the perspective of the engineer, now, what would be the events after the first investment?
invested into project from my report.
Yeah. Yes. So just like a single investment made, right? Because we are just considering a scenario of a single investment. So events after first investment would contains. Yeah, maybe it would be a good idea to actually something like contains exactly right now. Yeah, I guess. Okay, contains exactly project investment made exactly like this. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Investment made. Maybe even a specific one, actually, of okay. Okay. And let's add as first parameter here. Okay. But contains exactly, let's that would be like domain event. Okay. Events contains exactly that kind of events. For instance, this one. Okay. So contains exactly and maybe let's return boolean here, right? Okay. 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 So that will be for the first. For the second one, events after second investment contains exactly 2K and 6K, right?
Yeah.
And for the third one, the first three events after third, 2K, 6K, and 1K. Naturally, it would be good to have also the investor name here, but let's imagine it's there. New investment made. Cool. After the fourth one. Okay. After fourth, 2, 6, and 1. But also, finally, this final event named project
is
funded. Okay. So that's how the sequence of steps would look like. That's actually just the expression of it. But now the interesting part is this to fee of application, this fees, right? So now, if we are taking a look at this, would we place this fee inside the same fundraising system here, or maybe would we suggest some other design? What do you think?
Well, I like challenging things.
Okay.
So I know the obvious answer, but
okay.
I'll ask you, what happens if we just do it here?
Okay. If we are just starting it with something very simple, I guess it wouldn't be extremely problematic, but this fundraising system at some point wouldn't be just a fundraising system, would be probably at some point might become the crowdsourcery system with all the things inside it, right? So as you mentioned previously, maybe some gut class which would mix things a bit, would be hard to think in terms of any boundaries, and naturally it would be much better to actually have this sequence of events and just listen for instance, project being funded, and just apply the fees. Why? Because this fee application most probably would be quite complex, and if we tried to express, because it wouldn't be just always the 2% fee, right? As you mentioned, there are multiple strategies here, right?
Maybe
so maybe 2%, maybe we want to reinvest some part, maybe we want to allow to keep what you've raised, and so on and so forth. So in such a case, in such a case,
Actually, that's a
yes,
good point, because we would
yeah,
have different strategy for
right,
getting the
exactly,
fee out of the projects in which we invest. Because
right,
what would we do? Would we take 2% of ourselves? That wouldn't have sense, right? I mean,
right. So just by taking a look at this code, if we went this road and made it extremely simple, it would be extremely hard to use these different types of strategies, these different types of policies we have, right? We would
yeah.
need to keep adding if our branches and growing it in a huge unmanageable system. So just by looking at this system, this is also another hint. Okay, we should probably put it somewhere else, and we can already feel this policy which would just react on a sequence of events, and based on the sequence of events, decide whether we want to apply something or not, right? And that would be system on its own.
Yeah, but just one thing, because
Yeah.
I feel like we kind of seen similar scenarios. So we have this, we already have some kind of goal
Heuristics.
in mind, where
Yeah,
heuristics,
yeah.
and where we would like
Yeah,
to go
yeah,
with
yeah,
implementation. But especially when I started with DDD, at least more than once I was in a situation in which that felt like a good idea, right? And I did it in the system, and then you kind of get into this trouble that you have this aggregate, this God class that is too big, right? And I think that what I really like about this methodology with domain experiments and just kind of modeling the code. I mean, obviously we start with example mapping, but then we can take a look at the code, take another walk, and just rethink it. I really like that it's cheap to change. So if I discover at this point that I have a class, and that the events produced by this class are into different processes later on, and so on, it's cheap to change it or even dump it at this point and start over, right? But once you connect a database to that, once you start thinking about I don't know, just some entities and how to map one to many, many to many, and so on in the complex models, then you start wasting time, which you could actually just retrieve by doing this exercise. Because normally, of course, we are doing a lot of talking here, but if it takes 2 or 3 hours out of your 8-hour workday, it's not really a big investment, I think.
No, definitely not, because all of these questions, all of the doubts would appear 6 months later, when we already made some architectural decisions, when we made some technological decisions, when we agreed on some team topologies and so on. And at this point, changing your assumptions, changing the solution based on failed assumptions, well, can be a bit costly, right? So in domain experiments, it's not just about shifting left the testing. It's not about testing. It's shifting left of finding all important bits of what we are building, shifting left all the complexity of the heart of the software we are actually building. And as you mentioned, just take a look at the code we produced. Yeah, that's all of it. These are just some POJs, plain old Java objects, without any infrastructure, without any technology, without any cloud integration, without anything related to persistence, to the brokers. These are just the simple classes, simple functions, the essence of what we are building, just the embodiment of the processes. So changing it is, as you said, is just super fast. There is nothing faster than this. There is nothing cheaper than changing that kind of code. And that's why I'm calling it domain experiments, because you can experiment on the assumptions. You can start with something naive, just like we started here, write some more tests, more examples, and see that probably we are going in the wrong direction, because we would end up with a God class, or it would be hard to support another business requirements, like multiple strategies, for instance, regarding the fee application or the fundraising being started or not. So all of this can be changed extremely simple, and we can come with new ideas and ask more questions and refine it again and refine it again. And from my perspective, I usually go this way for the first few weeks after starting some new idea. And after these few weeks, I have accumulated most of the doubts, questions, and knowledge that would normally take me months of work and another month of redoing it because of the failed assumptions. And if you take a look at this, this is also quite similar. I mean, quite similar. That can go well with, for instance, impact mapping. In the impact mapping approach, you have some assumptions. You want to have some business goals met, so you have some assumptions how the actor should change his behavior and what type of delivery we can provide to actually deliver the business goal. And if you start with impact mapping as well, you can quite easily combine it with example mapping and domain experiments to verify the assumptions as early as possible if you go back to the domain experts in the whirlpool mode all the time and all the time and all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I just like to mention, we already talked about this in video in our YouTube channel, but I'll just mention that we use this technique to work with legacy systems. So that's a little bit different approach, and sometimes we just need to prepare a different model. And the really good part is that actually in the code you can see that, okay, you missed some data, right? It may not be visible in the sticky notes because sticky notes always compile. But in here, if you actually start implementing the tests and you want them green, which don't do right now because of the time, then it's really makes things easier to, well, it's quicker to develop a model that is desired for a given approach.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's continue with this because I think I have interesting question for you after we finish this one test.
Okay, I guess that's the right moment to ask this question. So go on.
No, because it's tricky. Let's just finish because I feel that we're very close to apply this 2% fee and.
Okay. So the final one regarding this application of the 2% fee, we could start. You could say that this event would be produced here. I don't know. For instance, fee applied, right? That might be initial design here, but we already discussed this probably wouldn't be a good idea. But that could be potentially be the very first iteration. But by writing this code, you would immediately see that, okay, probably we want to switch it somewhere else, right? So in such a case, in another example of just application, this 2% fee is applied, we would have another system. We would have another system, something like fees. That would just apply for, and now, for instance, the project funded, right? Project funded, or maybe even the entire step of events here. So that would be like the okay, fees maybe. Okay, so we would have another system that would be just consuming the events and applying these fees. So that's where we would probably go towards. Okay, would you like? Yes.
Before the tricky question, I'll just share my experience. So in similar case where I kind of felt like I need to divide the system. I did specific tests for, like you did for the fees in that case, but also I did write one test. It's kind of more like integration test, but still a unit test, right? Because that's work on plain old Ruby objects, in which I describe the whole flow. So
Okay.
after the project was funded, I did
Yeah.
get that event into this fee system, and then
Okay.
based on that,
Okay.
I did show what's gonna happen, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of treated it like as some kind of large use case of
Mm-hmm.
successful flow. And
Right. Right.
I find it interesting to actually discuss with the team, even with some product owners, how you can actually if this model is going to fulfill the requirements that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going like the full scenario. The nice thing about expressing all these tests just on the domain is that okay, if you want, you can make them more unit if you want to for any reason, and you can just say, okay, the fees is applied for project funded. But as you mentioned, you can write the entire scenario from start to the very end. That would be huge, might be a bit
Yeah.
unreadable, but at the same time would tell you the entire story from the very beginning to the very end, and you can read it like you read the stories on stickies, but this time it would be a bit more strict. So yeah, I also do similar things. I didn't want to copy paste everything here so far,
Yep.
so that's I went this way.
Okay.
Okay, the tricky question. That's time
Yeah,
for the tricky
just
question,
add
I
that.
guess.
Yeah, it is. I just mentioned that afterwards. I usually just dump this code because that's just for me to find out what
Yeah,
I
because
really
we are
want.
mostly still at the discovery phase. Yeah, we are trying to mix and think about the boundaries, but it's not there yet. We are not in the stable position yet. So we can ditch this code away. We've spent, I don't know, maybe 2-3 hours on experimentation, and it's mainly here to ask more questions.
Okay, and then actually I would now that's part of the time for tricky questions. So when is the time when you start getting the technical concerns into the code? Because I can think just let me give you a specific example.
Yeah,
So I can think now I'm wearing the business owner hat once again, that
yeah,
I want people to feel FOMO, right? Fear
yeah,
of missing out.
yeah, yeah.
And I will just make limited amount of the investments for specific funds. So who's first, they get to invest in the project, but they may also get some benefit, right? But the thing is that there's this technical concern that there is some kind of they will fight for a resource, if you will.
Right.
So when would you take this into consideration, and whether you would model this into in domain experiments?
Yeah, so I would still stay at the domain level, because when you say they would be fighting over something, I can still express at the domain code. And in my head, it starts looking like the inventory archetype. Yeah, if you start, you got some like limited rewards. You can prepare these limited rewards and let our users fight over for it. To meet these goals, to meet these tasks or achievements goals, to get some extra rewards. So I would prepare more examples with different processes and go exactly the same way as showed here. Still expressing at the domain level, because I want to understand how it's exactly done, whether these are, I don't know, maybe stretch goals, or these are more like catalog of achievements or goals you want to claim first and then pay for, and you got some time for it to pay for, to make the investment, right? For over, I don't know, an hour or something like that before it's getting unlocked. There are a lot of questions. So if there are a lot of questions, how we want to deal with it, because rewards is a very, very, very generic term, I would still crunch the knowledge. I would still go for the examples. I would still write these examples as tests, and I would still express at the domain level. But so this is about the reward part, but I haven't answered your initial question, because I kind of feel like you asked two questions. And the first one was, okay, when it's the right moment to actually start creating something more than just playing with some funny code at the domain level, right? So to answer it, I think when you see the full story. So that nicely fits of what you've said previously, when you said that you want to prepare like the full story, still express at the domain level, as but like full, like maybe crossing different bounded contexts, crossing different aggregates, different systems, and so on and so forth, without really like taking into consideration some others, just writing the entire process, but expressed on the domain level. So if you can kind of feel, okay, there is a completeness in this process, like I can express everything from start to the very end just by using my model, then that's the right moment. Okay, I have delivered some value. I have delivered some business value. I have coded some important rules. I have coded some important processes. So this is the moment where we can and should wrap it and make it executable and probably also clickable. And nowadays it's extremely simple, right? Because when you have the right model, all you have to do is just express some use cases that invoke this model, and basically, if you do it well, LLM can generate most of the REST endpoints and even the front end for you. For instance, like the very abandoned and old-time concept of HTOAS, for instance, these links in the REST system that were quite fancy, like the fourth level of maturity of the Richardson model, that proved to be unapplicable because it required too much manual work, probably to prepare all of it. Now it's applicable because you can quite easily create all the HTOAS resources and feed it to the LLM and generate the clients or agents that are actually working on it. So it's easier now than ever. Yeah, it's easier. Vibe coding, right? You mentioned vibe coding. Okay. Yeah. So actually, this vibe coding style might help you during the experimentation, right? So after you've made the experimentation on the domain level, okay, let's just create some executable, put it on the EC2 or just SCP out on some host, whatever, you don't really care, and make it executable. So you can go from the very end, start to the very end, also on a clickable application level, because a lot of people are actually like visual thinkers, right? So they would like to actually click something, try something, do something, and they can even get some more ideas about it. But still, I guarantee you that you would provide a way better value. And if you crunch the domain first, and you would be focusing more on some UI styles, some infrastructural details, and so on and so forth. Naturally, like performance and all that kind of things can have an impact on the final architecture. But here we are not designing architecture. We are designing processes. We are designing boundaries of the processes. And then we decide, okay, what types of constraints, performance, or maybe some compliance can interfere with it. But what we have done, we have already uncovered the complexity of our own system. And this is what really domain experiment is about.
All right. Thanks for answer. So we have 70 minutes left up until our 2 hours cap. So shall we continue with one more example, or?
I guess that's a good moment to probably maybe have questions and answers session, and maybe ask our guests to also feel or invite them to fill the survey. That's really important for us. I don't know if you got the link to the survey.
Yes, one moment.
Okay.
I'll share it. Okay, I did send it to all our sources.
Okay. So we would be very grateful for your honest feedback. That would mean a lot to us. I guess the link to the survey would be also available on the YouTube, right? In the comments, and probably everywhere else, I guess. So, do you get any questions regarding this approach? Anyone? Maybe it's a bit late.
Yeah, I guess no questions for now.
Okay. Anyway, we are open for any discussions, any doubts, any questions. So if you have anything to ask about, just let Łukasz or me know. You can contact us on LinkedIn or any other ways. I guess we would be happy to answer all doubts.
Definitely.
Okay. So that will be it. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for participation. If there are any questions afterwards, we may just go with some follow-up. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.